22 years ago, I proposed to my girlfriend. And she said yes, and she's sitting right there, so it worked out. Good story, right? I actually wasn't worried when I proposed whether she would say yes or no. We'd kind of already been over that in conversations, so that was more or less a done deal. What I was worried about was how the proposal would go. When we tell the stories to our kids and our grandkids, is it going to be a disaster story or a success story? How's this going to work out? And so there were a lot of moving parts to the proposal, as you might guess if you know me. I overthink and I over-prepare and all of that stuff, so there was a lot going on. But a big part of it was I invited her on a Friday night to come with me to a berry patch way out in South Overland Park. Now this berry patch, the proprietor there was also an amateur astronomer. So he had these big telescopes, and he would invite people to come late in the evening when it got dark and this far away from all the light pollution of the city, and come and stargaze. So I arranged with this amateur astronomer to leave us alone with one of the telescopes for a little while. And so he and his wife were very obliging about that. And Christina and I were there at the telescope, and it was tall, so you have to kind of step up on a stool. And so when it was my turn to look through the telescope, I made a point of telling her about the ring, but by describing it as 3 stars, because the ring in my pocket had one larger diamond in the center and a small diamond on either side of that one. So I was looking at the telescope, and I said to her, "Oh, you got to see this amazing trio of stars off to the right. It's a big star in the middle and a little star on either side." And she said, "Okay." So she stepped up to the telescope, and as she was looking for it, I held the ring right next to her cheek, because she couldn't see it there. And she said, "Where is it?" I said, "It's way off to the right." But after a few seconds, she's like, "I don't see it." And she stepped back down off the stool. And I'm like, "Well, look one more time for me." But as she was stepping back up to the telescope, I just put the ring right in front of her face. But it was really dark. So she said, "What are you doing?" And she go back up to the telescope. And I said, "No, here, look." And she looked to her right, and there it was. It was the ring I was proposing, and we were getting married. And again, it was super dark, so she just thought I was being weird, so, because that moment sticks with me. What are you doing? Right? What is this distraction to the thing that I'm trying to look for that you're telling me about? And it reminds me a little bit of how we tend to find what we're looking for, and we tend not to find what we're not looking for. And we can ignore the truth, and we can miss the truth, even if it's the very thing that we had hoped for in our hearts. If we're not looking for it, are we going to see it? And that reminds me of the gospel that we just read, where Pilate is interviewing Jesus, is asking him these questions: Are you a king or not? And Pilate is missing something, right? Pilate he knows what a king is. He's a politician. He's a governor. He knows emperors. He knows kings. He understands what a king is supposed to do, and for his part, is afraid of them. He's afraid that a king is going to rise up and to lead a revolt and to destabilize this region. That's his whole job in Judea as governor. Collect taxes, keep the peace, right? And a king rising up from among the ranks might be a threat to all of that, to everything that he's there to do. So meanwhile, the people of Israel are searching for a king too. Pilate's looking for anybody who might claim the throne in order to put them down. The people are looking for a king so they might lift him up. They're looking for somebody who can represent them in the world, somebody who can give them a fighting chance against their occupiers, against the Romans. They want somebody with power, someone with authority, and someone who can set them free from this political situation they found themselves in. So everyone around Jesus is looking for something very specific. And in every single case, he deflects. And he surprises them, or he leaves them empty in some way when they're looking for this specific thing that's going to help them out in life somehow. And maybe you remember the movie Star Wars, the first movie, which they then renamed, anybody? Star Wars, and it ended up Star Wars 4, A New Hope or something like that, right? Not a Star Wars geek myself, but I remember this moment where the stormtroopers are looking for C-3PO and R2-D2, the droids, they're looking to apprehend them, and they are with Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's a Jedi Master, right? And when the stormtroopers find them, and there's Obi-Wan in their vehicle with the droids and everything, and the stormtroopers come up, and Obi-Wan says, "These are not the droids you're looking for." And the stormtroopers reply, "These are not the droids we're looking for." And they go on their way. It's this little Jedi mind trick that he plays so that the stormtroopers fail to see the truth that's right in their face. It matters what we're looking for. It's as if Pilate asks Jesus, "Are you a king?" And Jesus says, "I'm not the kind of king you're looking for. I am not the king you're looking for. Yes, I am a king, but not the kind that you think." Close your eyes. Here, do it with me. Close your eyes. And most of you aren't doing it. And imagine a king. Okay, now open your eyes. He's not that. That's not it. Everything that we picture an authoritarian. We picture a military commander, maybe even a narcissist. We picture a power monger, somebody who will amass resources and authority to benefit themselves, to benefit their family, their friends, at everyone else's expense. That's what we know a king to be. And Jesus says, "Yes, I'm a king. I'm not the kind of king you're looking for, the kind that you're imagining." And it happens even now. Because when we learn about the kind of king that Jesus is showing us, that he is the kind of authority, the kind of power that he brings, and maybe we feel like it does not fit our agenda, it's not the kind of thing we're interested in, so we walk away. And what do we do when we walk away? We don't just walk away from the idea of Jesus altogether. We may walk away from the person of Jesus, but we like this concept, don't we? We think there's something there. Maybe I can salvage the concept of Jesus even after I've walked away from him. So we fabricate a king. We make one in our own image. Right? We make a king that can give us some social capital, a king that can help us to gain a certain position or a certain relationship, or who can help us win our arguments, or can assuage our guilt, or whatever agenda we have in our life. It's like, well, can we modify this idea, create a king that we like, and then we'll still go ahead and call him Jesus? Even though everything that fabricated king has helped us to do in life, every position that we've gained, every bit of wealth that we've ascertained over this time, and the civilization building and kingdom building of our own that we've put Jesus' name on with a stamp, and Jesus didn't have anything to do with it. But just like Pilate walked away from the real Jesus, not seeing the truth in front of him. And just like we tend to walk away from that real Jesus, in both cases, in all cases, Jesus didn't give up on us. Yeah, he gave us a chance to see who he really was, to see what he was really offering, and to understand him. And we walked away, and Jesus stayed. Jesus never walked away from us. He's still right there where we left him, waiting for us to let go of our presumptions, waiting for us to let go of our agendas and our platforms and our artificial standards. And he's still right where we left him, waiting for us to come back and say, okay, Jesus, remember how you said your kingdom is not of this world? What did you mean by that? And sometimes it can take years, sometimes it can take a lifetime of walking away from Jesus before we turn around and say, he's still standing there. He's still waiting for us to ask what he meant. And Jesus is always ready to show us. I think Jesus is there trying to show us the other side of everything. Of all of the assumptions that we bring to life. Of all of the agendas that we have. And all of the networking and manipulating we do of our reality to make it work for us. And Jesus is there ready to show us the other side as soon as we're ready to see it. Yes, a king has resources. A king has power. And a king has authority. But this king wants to use his resources not for his own benefit, but for ours, for everyone's. This king wants to use his power not to defeat his enemies and gain in prominence, but to win his enemies over, to be a blessing to everyone. This king wants to use his authority that a king comes with, but not by himself. He wants to share that authority with us, and I preached about this in the past. Jesus has power. Jesus does not have power over, or he's chosen not to. Rather than power over, Jesus exercised power with us. So let's not miss the truth. It's right there in plain sight, staring us in the face, especially as we come into the church of Jesus on a day like Christ the King. It's right there in our face. What kind of a king are we talking about? Jesus is a different kind of king, and therefore he's calling us to be a different kind of subject. Or not a subject, rather. A partner. And that's one more thing that makes Jesus a different kind of king is he talks about obey my commandments. But what are these commandments? These commandments are to love. These commandments are to join with him. He doesn't say, you stay down there, do what I say. He says, listen to my voice, obey me, and in so doing, come up with me. So that we can join with him in blessing the world, in bringing the hope and healing that is the agenda of this king. That he's calling us to come up to him with an open heart, with an open mind, with open arms, so that we can work in symphony, in harmony with this very different kind of king. Amen.